Hi, I'm Marisa Inda. Thank you for subscribing to the Juggernaut YouTube channel, and check out our new apparel by clicking the link in the bio.
How should I train immediately after a meet?
As far as training after a meet is concerned, depending on the level of the athlete is going to determine how long they need to take some sort of deload, restorative, light training. So a very, very strong athlete who's able to impose a huge stimulus on their body, huge stress, particularly neural stress from 9 1-rep max or near 1-rep max attempts, is going to need to take longer time than a smaller, more beginner athlete would. Probably every lifter, though, should have some transitional period, because as you come out of peaking training, taper, and competing, where you're just really doing singles or very, very low volume training, you're going to need some period of transitional work to get back into your next phase, which is likely going to be a hypertrophy phase, to prepare the body for higher rep training.
How often should you separate the clean and jerk in training?
Separating the clean and the jerk exercise into two different movements is beneficial for a lot of reasons. If somebody's clean is much, much stronger than their jerk, they're going to be limited by how much they can jerk and not be able to train the clean or overloaded enough. The opposite is true. If their jerk is very, very strong, they may not have as much stimulus to the clean. So as a general rule of thumb, we're going to do more of the lift that's weaker. And we're going to separate those two lifts more early on the training cycle. As we get closer to the competition, we have to combine them because that's what the sport is. So we'll probably combine them 2/3 to 1/3. Early in the cycle, they'll be doing, maybe one exercise a week, which is clean and jerk. The rest will be separated movements. As we get closer to the meet, they might be doing almost all of their workouts as clean and jerks together.
How should I adjust set and rep ranges for my accessory work?
Set and rep ranges for accessory work should be reflective of the primary work that you're doing. The way that I normally program it for people is, if we're in hypertrophy, let's say doing sets of 6 to 10 in the primary lifts, then our accessory work would maybe be 8 up to 15 reps, maybe as high as 20 reps on occasion. As we move to strength and are doing sets of 3 to 6, then the accessory work is probably sets of 8 to 12. And finally, in peaking, where accessory work is going to be de-emphasized the most, and we're doing sets of 1 to 3 in the primary work, maybe sets of 6 to 10, but even a little bit further away from failure would be appropriate for accessory training.
How should I structure an overreaching week?
In regards to overreaching and that final functional overreaching week before you have a planned deload, there's a lot of potential ways that you could structure your training. So it's not that you have to overreach in the first bench workout or the second bench workout. So they just understand that the lifting doesn't happen in a vacuum. Squat work, bench work, deadlift work, all are imposing fatigue on the body, and a hard squat workout is going to have some effect on a bench workout, even though it's not the same exercise. So you're accumulating fatigue throughout that entire week of training. So the general idea would be to make that functional overreaching week as a whole very hard. But yes, it is likely that the workouts later in the week would be more challenging than the workouts earlier in the week.
Will increasing my deadlift improve my snatch and clean and jerk?
So the increasing the strength of your deadlift is probably not going to have a direct correlation to increased results in the snatch, clean and jerk, but increases in the strength of your back and using the deadlift to develop that general quality is probably going to have a very beneficial effect on the lift. The stronger you are, the higher qualified athlete you are, the more important it's going to be, the less important it's going to be to focus on these things, because you should have developed these as you went along. More specific exercises will have a bigger impact on you as your qualification goes up. So while you may be young or new and doing deadlifts and increasing your deadlift from 225 pounds to 275 pounds has a big impact on your clean and jerk, that won't be true as you pass a certain point. If you're clean and jerking 200 kilos or 230 kilos, increasing your deadlift by 15 or 20 kilos probably not going to have a big impact on it.
How does chasing elite numbers differ from chasing intermediate numbers?
As an athlete gets stronger and stronger, and you're working towards, let's say, a 600-pound deadlift instead of a 400-pound deadlift, there's a lot of differences to potentially consider, and you can watch my video on the principle of individual differences to learn more about that. But one of the main things that you're going to have to focus on is that all the lifts you do are producing a greater training stimulus. They're going to generate more fatigue, And every rep, given that it's at a higher weight, is going to eat up a larger percentage of the athlete's MRV. So while an athlete moves from beginner to intermediate and into the beginning stages of advanced, their work capacity and special work capacity, the amount of work they can tolerate, is probably continually increasing. But as they reach more and more elite levels, they'll actually won't be able to do as much work in terms of sets and reps, because the weight will be so heavy and so stimulating.
Hey guys, my name is Kristen Dunsmore. I compete as a 63 in the USAPL, and I did the online coaching with Juggernaut with Chad Wesley Smith. Chad did my coaching for about a year. I didn't really compete, so when he started working with me, I was injured, so we weren't really doing too much, but he kind of just worked around my injury until I was able to start lifting again. Within the past year, we really got into actual training, where I competed in the American Open in Orlando, and I hit 347 squat, a 204 bench, and a 419 deadlift. What I really appreciated about Chad was that he was really able to work around my injuries and get me back to where I was before and even better. So, thank you, Chad.